Hello there, Ray here, and we have a brand new 1.15 snapshot. This is 1.15 pre-release 4, and I'll be going over all the changes with this snapshot, with the main theme being performance improvements as well as bug fixes. And I'll also explain why we are out 15 million blocks in the end dimension on the backup of the ProtoTech SMP server. Now I would like to get into today's sponsor, which is you guys. So thank you guys for supporting my channel as well as what I enjoy. Now let's get into all the new changes with the 1.15 pre-release 4. They fix a pretty major bug to do with Redstone, one that you guys probably even seen yourselves, which is when you have a clock, it would produce a pulse, and you might have hooked a couple of repeaters on 4 redstone ticks of delay, but depending on where you place the repeater, they might have flickered differently. So this repeater might have always been on, where this one would be constantly flickering, even though both of them are hooked up the same redstone line. This is another one of the situations of redstone being inconsistent, making it kind of annoying for people to get into redstone to understand it. And our friend Red Command went ahead and got this bug noticed by the developers and fixed, which is really great. This next bug that they fix is one that comes close to home, and that is when igniting a TNT block, it creates an entity that's offset from its proper coordinates. And this occurs out pretty far in the world at very high coordinates, and this is something we ran into on the ProtoTech SMP server. Since we're currently going out to the world border of the end dimension, 30 million blocks, and we're making a bunch of stops along the way, we're also making some perimeters out here. An easy way to make a perimeter is just using our mini TNT query. There's also a version for 1.14 if you're curious. And we've done this before the end dimension. It works really good. You just clear away all this endstone with this little machine here. But the problem is, way out here, the TNT from these dupers would not just fall straight down like they normally would, but instead would be placed inside of the actual machine and end up causing the whole thing to blow up. And this perimeter we're making is out 15 million blocks, so it's halfway between the center of Minecraft world and the very limits of where you can even go. And I actually have some clips of this occurring. So it's pretty excited to see them fix this. So when we update ProtoTech server to 1.15, we should be able to do a lot more stuff at the world border without worrying about our TNT machines blowing up on themselves. So while we're out here, let's go ahead and just ignite a TNT to kind of see what happens. You can see the entity can shift a little bit to the side. That is normal, but what you've seen before was definitely not normal. This next bug is another one that has to do with stuff very far away from the origin of the world, which is 0, 0. So we're out here at 50 million blocks, and it has to do with enchanting tables and the little book on top not properly tracking the player. Now a lot of things don't work quite well out really far away from the origin, as there is floating point precision errors, meaning that when they're trying to calculate how stuff should work out here, any minor error in the calculation is magnified. But needing more precise calculations, meaning that they need more computing power. They also fix another problem to do with far distances in the game, to do with conduits and the particles not properly moving to the right location so far out. They also got one more bug to do with distances far out from the center of the world, and it has to do with gateway portals. We actually have one over here, but it looks like the chunks actually got corrupted when we updated from 12 to 15. I think there's another gateway portal over here. I'll find it. Ah, here it is. So yeah, it had to do with the particles coming from gateway portals. And the particles were going to the wrong center point. And I've actually never noticed this on ProtoTech, and we have quite a few of these gateway portals out really far. This next bug has to do with TNT and how it drops items after blowing it up. Now before, it would have the items drop, but it would automatically cluster them together, but put them in the wrong location after they were clustered. Now you could see over here that these items were a little bit spread out, but then they eventually clustered, and they did properly come towards the center of all of them. Now the reason why they had it kind of like pre-calculate where the stacks should go is to try to improve upon performance. And the developer SliceLime even mentioned that this is not going to be a complete fix, as they now have it so that the items will drop where each of the blocks dropped, but they made them so that they will be able to cluster over a abnormally large distance. And it's good that they cluster a little bit. That's because if they didn't, there'd be tons of entities that are spread throughout this entire area. And obviously more entities means more lag and more calculations by the game. This next bug is one that I've noticed, but I really didn't think much about it. But essentially, if you look in the bottom of a skull, it would have been completely invisible, allowing you to see like the clouds above it. And this was apparent in different mob skulls like Wither Skeleton Skull as well as the Skeleton Skull. They fixed a rendering issue to do with looking at either honey or slime blocks from underneath of glass. They reintroduced the ability to have the sky change depending on what height you are in the world as well as what biome you are. So if you're in more of a cold biome, it's going to come up with more of a indigo color for the sky, and if you're in more of a warm biome, it's going to be more of a greenish color. Now you guys might remember in the past I showed this kind of weird trick where you can kind of stand right between where the game would kind of switch the colors of the sky, and it was extremely abrupt and it would actually hurt your eyes. And then at that point they removed it, but then they really never came back and reintroduced it. So it's good to see that it came back, but more subtle. There was a problem that tame wolves or dogs were attacking tame parrots. And they've now fixed this, which is a good thing. I'd hate to see all your pets start killing each other off. There was a problem to do with pandas sometimes attacking the player when they were trying to be bred. That has now been removed. When rotating an armor stand using a command, it would cause the base to be glitchy. So using this command, we teleported it, and it's also rotated it, and you can see it's now fixed. They also fixed it so that the armor stands will show their visual rotation, as they weren't doing that sometimes before. They also fixed a bug to do with commands, and essentially the commands were put into a particular order, but when they were requested, the game didn't have them sorted into the same order that the player put them in. They fixed another visual bug to do with maps, allowing you to see the blocks behind them rather than seeing the actual map. In the last review, we noticed that the Tritons were too dark. They went ahead and fixed this. They also did the same thing to the shield. I noticed the shield is still not quite showing up correctly for the enchantments, so I'll link the bug report to that down in the description. Now there is a special property that you can give to armor stands called disable slots. There was a problem with this when removing items from armor stand that had this, which would cause a visual bug. And essentially it appeared that you actually took the item off, even though when you relog it would still be there. There was another rendering problem to do with the player model in your inventory here. Depending on how items were sitting inside of your hotbar, it would change the shading of the player. Those are all the changes for the 1.15 pre-release 4 snapshot. Remember guys, if you still know of some bugs in the game, be sure to go ahead and update them to the most recent snapshot so the developers can look at them and hopefully get them fixed. Now they're still planning on doing the full release of 1.15 on December 10th, so you have a limited amount of time to get your bugs fixed. As oftentimes when they move on to like a new project, bug fixing sort of gets pushed to the side, especially if it's older bugs. And I'd love to hear about these bugs that you come across as well down in the comments. Let me guys know if you feel like that 1.15 is a big improvement over like 1.13 or 1.14, as the ProtoTech server is still on 1.12, but we are planning to update. So this might be the version that we try to aim for, and we might kind of quickly go through all the other versions and not really stay in them too long because they are pretty bad in a lot of situations. Remember guys to go ahead and share this video and give it a like so other people know about the newest changes in 1.15 and understand that we are getting the full release pretty soon. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and bye-bye.